times of war.
Our next distinguished guest speaker hails all the way from the Balkans. He is the current ambassador of Bosnia-Herzegovina to Switzerland and one of the founders of the Reborn Jewish Educational, Cultural and Humanitarian Society La Benevolencia and the Interreligious Council of Bosnia-Herzegovina.
One of Bosnia's most respected public figures, he has been decorated with several honors including the Grand Cross Order of Merit from the Federation of Republic of Germany, the American Decoration of First American Freedom, and Chevalier de Légion of Honor, the highest order of recognition in France.
To deliver his address, Yugoslav War's Lesson Learned, it gives me great honor to invite Ambassador Jakob Finci.
Ambassador, please.
Thank you. Thank you for your invitation, and thank you for having me here. I'm so glad that I traveled these 10,000 kilometers to spend this afternoon with you, and thank you. I got applause even in advance, so I don't have to speak at all. Just to explain that the word La Benevolencia means goodwill. It's an old Spanish word because Jews arrived to Bosnia after expulsion from Spain in 1492, and we have a joke that in 1492 some Jews joined Columbus on his way from Spain to the New World, and some came to the Balkans, and till today we don't know who took the wrong direction. But nevertheless, we are where we are, and they are where they are. When I got invitation to be today with you, I was really happy and lucky because I was once in the region, but I was never in Singapore. I learned about Singapore as much as it's possible through different books and internet, but I was really astonished to see the city as it is today. I know that the history is different in each part of the world, but between Bosnia and Singapore, there are some similarities. You have different races living together. We have different religions living together. From outside, here it's easy to distinguish who is who. In Bosnia, everyone looks alike, and we have 4 traditional religions. We have Bosnian Muslims. We have Bosnian Serbs who are Orthodox. We have Bosnian Croats who are Roman Catholics. And we have a small group of Jews who are living for more than 450 years in Bosnia and who are very well integrated into the Bosnian society, but thanks God, we are not assimilated. When I got the invitation, I said that I was really more than ready to be here. And then I got the instruction that in 25 minutes, I should explain the reasons for the war in Yugoslavia, what are the lessons that we should learn, what have been the mistakes, and how we could overcome such problems in the future. And I said, the person who can do this deserves a Nobel Prize. I'm sure that I will not get the Nobel Prize, but I will try to explain what really happened in Yugoslavia, and especially in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and maybe what are the lessons that the international community didn't learn in Bosnia. Because there is a saying that history is a teacher of life. But if this is true, then we are very bad students, because usually we didn't learn a lot from the past. Yugoslavia was a country which exists for more than 70 years as a state. Before that, it was a lot of small states around, like Montenegro, like Serbia, like Bosnia, which existed 1,100 years now. But for the long period of history, Bosnia was part of Ottoman Empire, and then it became part of Austro-Hungarian Empire, and then it became part of Yugoslavia. And after the Second World War, Yugoslavia was a socialist country under the name Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Naturally, there are different ways of socialism and colors. And if generally speaking, socialism is something red, then Yugoslav socialism was pink. It was not really red. Because we have been free to travel all over the world, and the Bosnian passports have been really good ones, or Yugoslav passports. With them, we can travel all over the world without visas. These days, it's much more complicated. And we have been able to own our own cars, weekend houses, and the rest of the commodities which have not been affordable to the people in socialism behind Iron Curtain. Leader of Yugoslavia for the long period of time was President Tito, who passed away in 1980s. 10 years after Tito passed away, it was the fall of Berlin Wall, and I'm afraid that this wall fall on the heads of Bosnians, because we have been one of the biggest victims of the fall of socialism. At that time, leaders in Yugoslavia start to speak about independence of each of the federal republics. At that time, we used to have 6 republics. It was Slovenia, which is today member of European Union, Croatia, which is knocking on the door and will become member of European Union very soon, during this year. Then Serbia, Montenegro, Macedonia, and Bosnia-Herzegovina. Part of Serbia used to be province of Kosovo, and Kosovo now also claimed that it's independent state, recognized by almost half of the members of the United Nations, but not recognized by the second half, and not recognized by Serbia themselves and Bosnia-Herzegovina. Back in the 90s, with the fall of socialism, Yugoslav leaders have been a little bit lost because they have not been ready for the transition from state-owned economy to free market economy. And instead of start working on this, they turn to nationalism. They play cards of nationalism, trying to explain that for all our problems, the troublemakers are others, pushing a finger on the members of the different ethnic groups. Unfortunately, media have been used for this propaganda very successfully, and if from day to day you are listening on television, watching on television, reading in the newspapers, that for all your troubles you should blame your neighbors, it's normally that you will start to hate your neighbors and even very easily start to kill them. So, first, Slovenia declared independence, and the war against the independence of Slovenia lasted 7 days. Then Croatia declared independence, and the war of parts of Yugoslavia, led by Serbia against Croatia, lasted around 3 months. During this period of time, the coastal city of Dubrovnik, which is a wonderful Mediterranean city, and one day visiting Europe, you definitely should visit not only Bosnia, but also Dubrovnik. In Dubrovnik, there is a small Jewish community, not more than 30, 35 persons, but the average age is over 75. And you know, when you're over 75, you cannot start your day without 2 yellow, 2 green, 2 white pills. Who knows what for, but there is no life without pills. And They have been in troubles because the city of Dubrovnik was under the siege for almost 3 months. That was one of the lessons that we learned in Sarajevo, in Jewish community, and in La Benevolencia. After these 2 wars, we start to prepare because it was almost clear that the war will reach Bosnia, and we would like to be prepared. We sent a letter to all our members in the Jewish community, asking them to extend the validity of the passports and to put in the passport so-called exit visa to visit Israel. Because Yugoslavia was absolutely free country with no visa regime with anyone, but we need exit visas if we would like to visit Soviet Union and Israel. So usually yearly 30 to 40 persons are visiting Israel to visit some relatives or to visit the holy places there. And suddenly when 400 people ask for the exit visa, this article appeared with the headlines, "When the Jews are leaving the city, it's a bad sign for the city." Naturally, I went on television explaining that in 1992 we'll commemorate 500 years of expulsion from Spain in 1492, and that it will be a huge manifestation, first in Spain. After that, part of this will be in Yugoslavia, in Bosnia, and finally we'll go to Israel, and that's the reason why everyone asked for the exit visa. At the same time, we called our medical doctors and pharmacists, asking them to prepare the list of medicines that we need for the 1,500 members of our community, aging members mainly, to survive for 3 months, just in case of something. So we bought a lot of medicines, and for the rest of the money, we bought some food that can stay, like beans, rice, oil, flour, sugar, canned food, just in case of something. And really, when the war starts in Bosnia, I think that we can put the date of the 6th of April of 1992. We have been able to organize the first evacuation of almost all our children on the 10th of April. They went by planes to Belgrade because at that time airports were still open, and the only other open airport in former Yugoslavia was Belgrade. So we shipped them to Belgrade, and from Belgrade they usually go to Israel. After that, we made several other evacuations, trying to send out all the children and the elders, people who hardly can survive the war. A lot of them came to the community saying, you know, I survived once. I survived the Second World War. I'm almost 50 years older, and I hardly can survive again. Please take me out, because I'm not ready to survive another war. It was another group of people who said, last time I flew away because everyone was against me because I was Jewish. Now no one is against me. I will try to stay here if you can help me, because I'm too old to fly away. And they stay in town. So to make the long story short, we organized totally 11 evacuations, 3 by planes and 8 by buses, and we sent out of Sarajevo 2,500 people, including a little bit less than 1,000 Jews, and 1,500 others, that mean Muslims, Catholics, and Orthodox. We remained a small group of not more than 500 Jews in Sarajevo, and together with our friends, we start all these activities of La Benevolencia. First was, with a lot of medicines that we have at hand, to open something like pharmacy, because all the town was looted from inside. The citizens looted each and every shop, including the pharmacies, everything was looted except the bookshops, because at that time no one was running for the books. Later on, when they discovered that the books can be used for the fire, even the bookshops have been looted. With all these medicines, we opened this first pharmacy, and for Bosnia it's also a little bit complicated to pronounce La Benevolencia Pharmacy, so they gave a nickname to this pharmacy, Jewish Pharmacy. And very soon it became clear that if you are running for medicine, you should go to the Jewish pharmacy, and if they don't have your medicine, don't try, because it means that this medicine doesn't exist in town. Very soon, because Bosnians are similar to people in Singapore, they start to complain. Why we should cross the bridges to reach your pharmacy, because pharmacy is on the left-hand side of the local river, because each bridge was an excellent target for the sniper fire. And really, we opened the second pharmacy on the other side of the river in the Olympic Center, because Sarajevo was hosting the Winter Olympic Games in 1984. And in the Olympic Committee, we opened the second pharmacy. And this is really a very good place for pharmacy, because even today is a commercial pharmacy on the same place. Then we came to the end of 1992, and it was a time to commemorate expulsion from Spain. So we organized the first huge cultural event during the war in Sarajevo, with the whole presidency, all the members of government, a lot of dignitaries have been present, international media was with us, because Sarajevo and Bosnia have been the first war permanently on television. So each night when you open your TV, on BBC, on CNN, on Sky News, on ABN, all international TV companies had a cruise in Sarajevo, and it was like a soap opera lasting 1,200 days. They transmitted the siege of Sarajevo. So this event was covered on the front page of New York Times, because it was really a miracle in the middle of the war to have a cultural event with the concerts, round tables, exhibitions, and so on. During this event, one of the guys who was a medical doctor, even now he is a medical doctor, he's originally Palestinian, and he was studying in Sarajevo. He got married in Sarajevo, and he was running one of the small hospitals in the neighborhood of the airport that's been far away from the downtown Sarajevo. He approached us during this manifestation saying, you know, we are Jews and I'm Palestinian, we are almost relatives. And it will be very good to open a pharmacy in my hospital, because people from my neighborhood, they cannot reach your pharmacies in town. We said, no problem, but our hospitals are absolutely free of charge, and you should give everything free of charge. He said, no problem. Then you should put down who took these medicines to be able to report to our donors how we spend the money for the medicines and how we spend the medicines. He said, no problem. Then you should not ask who you are by nationality, because everyone is eligible to receive the medicines. He said, no problem. And then he said, don't worry, I know what you need, and I will take care about the pharmacy. So I can bet that this was the only Jewish pharmacy ever run by Palestinian, but it was very successful, and that showed that everything is possible, especially in Bosnia and in Sarajevo, when you are working together. At the same time, few people, or dozens of people, joined the community, showing by original papers that they are of Jewish origin, but they didn't declare themselves as Jewish at that time. And they would like to become members of the community, and we have all the books, and we check, we find that they are really Jewish, and they join the community. So, together with them, we got a group of maybe 20 children, and these 20 children, they didn't know anything about Judaism. They didn't even imagine that they are of Jewish origin. And what to do with them? We start something like Sunday school, trying to teach them a little bit about the Jewish history. And Jewish history is almost like fairy tale, and it's very interesting for the children. Maybe it's boring for the Jews after 3,000 years, but for the children it's very interesting. And through generators we have been able to produce some electricity, so we show them some movies on television. We offer them some cookies and soft drinks from our reserves. And after second session, a lot of them said, you know, I have my best friend. We spent last 6 months together in the shelter. May I bring my best friend to this school because it's so wonderful? The answer was naturally yes. So we ran during the war the Jewish Sunday school with the 20 Jews and 30 best friends, and it was a very successful school because they at least teach to live with each other. They learn that there is no difference between us and that the religion should not be the real difference. On the end of the war, we organized even summer vacation for the whole group, and they went together to the mountains near Sarajevo, and they spent some wonderful time. I think that some of them fall in love between each other, and we have 3 or 4 couples from this Jewish school, but all of them are mixed couples, Jewish and non-Jewish couples. This was during the war. And then on the end of the war, like on the end of each war, we got to peace. This peace was negotiated in Dayton, Ohio, and it's well known as the Dayton Peace Accord and the Dayton Peace. And part of this peace accord, it's also a Bosnian constitution. We are not very lucky with such constitution, but because it was imposed on us, but it was a result of the war, and all our leaders from all 3 sides signed such a document, so that's what we have now in hand. If we should find some lessons, the first lesson is that war cannot solve any problem, and that there is no good war. Even the worst peace is much better than any kind of war. So the most difficult is to preserve the peace, because once when the war erupted, it's very difficult to establish a peace after that. That is something that we learn as a lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is that if war started, we should remain human, and we should try to help our neighbors. You saw in the movie, this is Zainaba Hardaga, the first Muslim lady who received this decoration of Gentile. That means Gentile between nations, people who helped the Jews during the Holocaust. When she received this from the hands of the Israeli Prime Minister, late Yitzhak Rabin, he asked her, why you helped the Jews during the war, you the Muslim lady? And she said, I didn't help the Muslims. I didn't help the Jews. I helped my neighbors. So it's always important to take care about the neighbors. And the last lesson is that democracy doesn't consist only on the free and independent elections, because this was a failure in Bosnia immediately after the war, this was failure in Iraq, this was failure in Afghanistan, but international community didn't learn the lessons. I know that it's not easy to explain the whole situation in short period of time. I should say that it was very dangerous to be in Bosnia and in Sarajevo during the war because it was a daily shelling. I was traveling several times, leading convoys or bringing in humanitarian help, passing through enemy lines with different documents like James Bond almost. And I think that I'm brave. But definitely I'm not brave enough to stay between you and the tea which is waiting for you. So I will try now to conclude saying that I'm open for each and every kind of questions. And now it's time, I think, to enjoy the tea. Thank you for listening to me.